Sionagon, hello all. Oshasahiya, good evening, and Wado. Thank you for watching. So this is day 38 of part B of reading Lone Wolf Alpha Squad Coffee Over by James Rink, and these are his experiences. Here, he and the other people were placed in a holographic constructed reality which looked similar to Earth. He said he felt like he was there for years, but maybe there is some kind of time differential between the dimension and the other. The Pleiadian extraterrestrials attempted to heal him with some kind of brain implant that contained a biological AI device, which injected nanites to regenerate neurons. They told him the Cabal was trying to destroy his long-term memories, but the implant would help restore them slowly. Man. He was then placed back in his home in Texas. Every few days, a caseworker would come around and check up on him. A caseworker, right? That should be in quotes, huh? Anyway, eventually they gave him a piece of paper with my phone number and told him to contact me. Casal, that's nice. Casal told me he and I were now under 24/7 surveillance by the Pleiadians and we were safe. Well, hopefully that's true. He claimed he couldn't remember what our relationship was, how to make his devices, or who his family was. I pressed him for more information, but he didn't remember any more than that. At that point, he started getting a pounding migraine headache, and I figured it was best to give him some time to heal. A week later, he was feeling a little better and remembered a little bit more. He told me the covert government created 20 clones of him. He gave me their locations. He said Sweden, a few in the United States, Southeast Asia, most of them were in underground bases. He told me he was in telepathic communication with his clones, and I asked him why he tried to destroy our business relationship. He said his clone had no choice. If he hadn't, they would have killed him too. Casal also asked me to put a warning on my website about BARAMAY.com, which is the company his clone set up. Oh wow. Baramay means God in Cambodian. Baramay referred to their devices, oh my God, as Baal, B-A-A-L, oh my God, which means false God. Casal told me they were putting coal, graphite, and a ruby inside their units, which causes the user's consciousness to become possessed by the DNA inside the unit. Ooh, what? What? Casal told me they're putting coal, graphite, and a ruby inside. So I guess whoever touched the stones or something. Oh my gosh. But Baal, y'all, that's what the Illuminati celebrates. And it's not a conspiracy theory, it's absolute facts. Like, read up on it. Like, seriously. Casal joked even though his clone was programmed to sabotage our business, the covert government, and those are the big time families that control the world too. They are worshippers of Baal. Not trying to be weird. Okay, so Casal joked, even though his clone was programmed to sabotage our business, the covert government soon lost control over Casal's clone, as he planned on using the balls to create an army of people loyal to him. Since all this seemed so bizarre, I decided it was best not to mention any of this on my company website, right? I didn't want to give any publicity to the other company, and I didn't want the users to have fear. In January 2012, Casal contacted me again. This time his personality shifted in a negative way. He told me that for now on, any decision I made had to be approved by him and the guardians, as he called them. I was not interested in working under those terms in light of his past history. A few weeks later, I discovered he was promoting Baramay.com again and was tweeting that he had now become a demon. Oh man. So I blocked him again from my life. The good news is I plan on continuing to sell the original cube design for those that want one. You can get one at neologicaltech.com. So neologicaltech.com. Chapter 19, Super Soldier Talk. Okay, so I'll show you the picture first, and I'm not sure if they'll name anybody after. Whoopsies. There we go. But it doesn't have like one of those little description things on there. In August 2011, I was working with Max Spears in a series of meditations to end my labs and create a parallel reality in which super soldiers in my labs would get the attention and respect they deserve for their experiences in a very public way. Max Spears was another super soldier who had monarch-type experiences similar to James Casbolt while growing up in the UK. In September 2011, I used what little money I had saved to fly to LA to bring Max to Project Camelot's Awake and Aware 2011 in Irvine, California. I paid for everything in exchange for a promised interview about his experiences. During the conference, we meet Lorien, Lorien, Fenton, Fenton, who told us she was planning on putting on a Super Soldier conference in San Francisco the next year. She invited us to come on stage alongside with Duncan Ophionian. However, Duncan pulled out of this event because he thought we super soldiers were fake. After the conference, I stayed in Max's disgusting studio apartment in Los Angeles. His bed was a thin mat on the floor with a dirty sheet and dirty pillow. There was a beat-up couch, a laptop, a lamp, dirty dishes in the sink, and a Templar crest on the wall, but not much more. Whoa. I was very tempted to buy him some sheets and towels, but I was only going to stay a night, and I had my own sleeping bag and pillow, so I was happy to have a place that was set up from camping. He told me he worked part-time as a substitute teacher for the school system, but based on what I was seeing at the time, I don't think he was employed or was even capable of holding a job. When Max and I talked about our experiences, he began to channel an entity which must have been either Draco or Anunnaki, Annunaki, and Draco is Draco. I was unable to understand what was being said. On my last day with Max, we were scheduled to film later that evening, but Max was having such difficulty writing down notes of what to say. Later that afternoon, he started smoking pot to calm his nerves. Then some of his friends stopped by, and they spent a few hours in the bathroom smoking something really hardcore. During this time, I was focused on setting up my camera rig and reviewing my questions. It was only later I realized Max decided to ditch his interview to get stoned instead. Max's druggy friends did not leave until very late that night. At this point, he was so stoned it would have served no good to film him. The next day, I had to return home, very upset that Max had taken advantage of my kindness and left me with a bunch of travel expenses and no work to show for it. Max never apologized for what he did to me. Looking back, I understand. The drugs and the mind control were driving him to do what he did. This was also a learning experience for me. Now I only want to work with experiencers who are actively seeking to improve their lives and the lives of others around them. In June 2012, Lorien Fenton's Super Soldier Summit was scheduled to take place in San Francisco. A listener of Super Soldier Talk graciously opened his house near the event location so that I could have a place to stay prior to the conference without having to pay for a hotel. Max and Tyler Clark, who were also scheduled speakers at this event, also needed a place to stay. So I convinced our host to allow the three of us to camp out in his home. During our stay, we had some fun on a side trip to San Francisco, and later that evening, Max channeled something about us being brothers and working together in Space Command for a time. I forgot what Max had done. How could he forget that? James Rink and Max Spears, June 2012. And at the bottom, it says Tyler Clark and Max Spears watching bases with Miles Johnston. So it's James and then Max. And it looks like, let's see. Tyler Clark and Max Spears watching bases with Miles Johnson. Okay, so this would be Tyler and then Max. He's got this same like headgear and stuff up there. All right, moving on. During the conference, Max became more and more manic. He would stammer his words and bounce his legs like he was on drugs. After the conference, Max began to black out. Lorien took him to the ER, and the doctor called me to ask me to go through his stuff to find out what he had overdosed on. Turns out Max downed 40 painkillers over a 3-day period, which he had stolen from our host home, who was disabled and on painkillers. They pumped his stomach, and the next day Max was discharged from the hospital. He then confronted me and was furious at me for going through his stuff as per the doctor and Lorien Fenton's orders. So I vacated the Airbnb we were all staying in and spent the remainder of my trip in a hotel. I did not talk to Max again for another year. At the next 2013 Super Soldier Summit in Vegas, I tried to convince myself I was no longer upset with Max's selfish and embarrassing behaviors. I decided to avoid him while focusing on myself. During this time, I finally got to meet my friend James Casbolt, Casbolt, who recalled us all being part of a mass MyLab abduction at the hotel we were staying in. I later had to remove the videos detailing the story as it's a bit graphic and involves many people who don't want to be named. After the summit, James Casbolt began to unravel mentally. He would post naked photos of his wife online for all to see in order to humiliate her. Wow. He accused Max and his wife of cheating, and things got very nasty. Tyler pulled away from the disclosure movement, and after our core group of super soldier whistleblowers fell apart, a year later, Casbolt was incarcerated, and 3 years later, Max would die under mysterious means. All summits then came to a stop as Lauren, it's supposed to be Lorien, right? Lorien, but it says Loren right here. Fenton would no longer allow our craziness ruin her reputation. That's how it says. Would no longer allow our craziness ruin her reputation. Eventually, I lost contact with Max after I blocked him on Facebook over a post he made in which he claimed he was a high vibration being and how I was full of dark energy. Max had a great stage presence. He had studied to be a Hollywood actor, and his college roommate was even Orlando Bloom. He was tall, handsome, good-looking, yet underneath it all, he was a very traumatized soul. When I learned Max died in 2016, I was surprised that I wasn't even sad. I knew he was troubled and had been seeking a way to check out for a very long time. As per our manifestations years ago, we were only partially able to achieve our desired disclosure goals, though if Max could have gotten clean, I feel he probably would have still been with us today. In the end, I guess we both got what we needed from our relationship. It says, picture was taken before we knew that Max was about to black out. As seen here, Tyler Clark, Max Spears, and Eva Moore. And then at the bottom it says, from left to right, James Rink, Douglas Dietrich, Dietrich, Haley Mayer, Meijer, James Casbolt, and Lorien Fenton. So I'm guessing, I don't know if that's Max or if that's Max. And then here's Lorien Fenton, and then James Casbolt. And then this one is the Haley Mayer, and then Douglas Dietrich, and then James Rink. Chapter 20, Operational Records. In 2013, and this is the final chapter, y'all, I'm so excited. Operational records. In 2013, I was in the middle of fighting off lawsuits with the banks from all my defaulted debt. I tried to fight my creditors because I was in fact the creditor and not the debtor as the debt I incurred derived from my own birth certificate bond. This applies to everyone. What? To learn more, Watch My Change is on the Horizon documentary, which discusses the banking system and NESARA. Shut the freaking front door. Okay, so the title of the documentary is Change is on the Horizon. NESARA is NESARA. During this time I was, what? Okay. Let's go. During this time I was shoot up with femtotech, so probably shot up with femtotech biobots from a clan of negative reptilians and Anunnaki, which was intended to make me sick. I suffered from a sore throat that left me mostly bedridden for about 4 years. Unable to work or function, I was soon buried in legal paperwork and eventually ran out of money and the strength to continue fighting the banks. Over time, the lawsuits began to go away and I slowly recovered my health thanks to a topical Ormus, ORMUS cream product and daily sessions under a red infrared laser light. After the Super Soldier Summit, I adopted a new policy requiring guest speakers on Super Soldier Talk to have at least some level of positivity and mental stability to handle being in the public forum. That's when I began producing content with people like ACIO's Peter the Insider, Jessica Marocco, Marrocco, Preston Nichols, Nichols, Randy Kramer, Kramer, Tony Rodriguez, Tony with a Y, Penny Bradley, Bradley, Elena Kapulink, Kapulink, Anthony Zender, Zender, Etienne, Etienne, Tomas, Tomas, Veronica, Deborah, Johann Fritz, Johanfritz, J. Essex, Essex, and hundreds more. I am happy for what was accomplished, but I was also disappointed too, because despite all the work I have done for the disclosure movement, I myself was still unable to recover much of my own memories unless under regression. I held off completing this book for years because I was hoping I would have recovered my memories by now. Since that has not happened yet, I decided instead to share with you anyway what I was able to recover. The following chapter contains summaries of the notes from various regressions, remote viewing, and ACIO files pertaining to my own SSP experiences. I personally like to thank Peter the Insider, Division 12 Director of the Alien Contact Intelligence Organization, for giving me access to a summary of my SSP records. The ACIO works with the Star Peoples at Area 51 and Pine Gap and have access to records on everyone on the planet. Wow. For a short period of time back in 2016, ACIO had opened up their records for anyone requesting to see them, and what I learned about myself was quite telling. Under different aliases and timelines, I have spent a total cumulative of 330 years, oh my god, in the secret space program. During my military service, I did a lot of bad things and made many bad decisions based on bad intel, no intel, or withheld information. A part of me deep down inside is quite ashamed of what I have done, and this is holding me back from healing myself. So what I can tell you is that from my birth in 1980, I have been taken on numerous 20, 40, and 60 year and back missions in my own body and various other clone bodies off-world and in other parallel realities. And here's a logo, Fifth Heaven, it says right there. Over 40,000 years ago, before I was even in Atlantis, I was living on a spaceship the size of North America. Wow. In Fifth Heaven, which is a subgroup of Asthar, Asthar command. They refer to themselves as Atlans, Atlans. My star father is the god Zeus. His face looks similar to my own, but he is much taller. He wears a light blue color suit with this logo on it. I am sitting on a translucent floor on one of the many levels of that ship. Each floor contains a replica of a real forest, seaside, and botanical garden. All kids there grow up in the energy of nature in a magical looking forest so they can absorb the high vibration of nature. There is something resembling hammocks between the trees where babies rest. Oh my god. Nearby, there was a little stream of water next to me and trees around me in the forest. I look like a 7-year-old child playing with little crystals, putting them in different patterns. I see my father behind me and asked him what he was doing. He said, "Look closely." He connects his eyes with the crystal structure of each piece to absorb the information of different civilizations we visited and helped. Astrally, this version of myself is approached and asked, "What is this place?" I respond, "I come from the parade of planets," and this is in quotes. It is very hard to explain the place I come from because it has to do with astral mathematics and an energetic space in a self-modulating universe which can shapeshift in order to move through time and space and to connect to the other universes, end quote. I then pick up a blue crystal and say, in quotes, "No Nanai, Nanai, the seeing of the self ripples onto all those who view." My mother is also on board this vessel. She is an AT hybrid from an androgynous race of blue crystalline beings, which created life forms based on the knowledge stored in our DNA. Wherever our race traveled, our DNA would assimilate that information and store it like a quantum computer in our soul DNA. Other races considered our DNA very valuable because of the experimentational possibilities. And I'll leave it at that. Don't go ahead and get until we meet again. Love you, minute.